Michele Ramsay, thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor to speak to you.
Oh, thank you, Carla.
So you are the director of the CIP, College Internship Program. Can you tell me a little bit about it, how it works, and what kind of students you cater for?
Absolutely. So thank you again for giving me this time today. So the College Internship Program, we're located here in the United States, and we have 5 centers throughout the U.S. And all of us a little bit of a different niche depending on where we're located and what's available to us in that area. But every one of our centers is located across the street from a college or the vicinity of a college, because a lot of our students are ready for that transition and going into college or careers. So when we think of college internship program, it is a support program for post-secondary students. They've just graduated high school, or maybe they started college, failure to launch, it just didn't work out, and now they need additional support. So when students come to us, they're going to get supports we're looking for that life balance, right? So you're going to have academic support, you're going to have your social skills support, because I'll talk a little bit about that later, but how essential social skills really is to the development of the adult. They have their own personal advisors, and that's their liaison to their families. They're going over banking and budgeting and how to self-advocate and really become that adult, where now you change that relationship from your parent-child to your adult. And then we're going to have career supports. We have a clinician on staff that helps with the anxiety through CBT therapy. We have life skills, and that's one of my favorites because we have students residing around our centers in homes or apartments that we help monitor. They're in there independently, but then we're going in and we're helping out with the cooking and the cleaning and meetings to help really do that conflict resolution with your roommate and how you can live with a roommate successfully. Yes. Menu planning, grocery shopping, nutrition, wellness. So if you're looking at a life balance, we're trying to launch you into adulthood.
Incorporate everything. I really like the life skills program as well. I was reading quite a lot about it, and also I watched some videos of you speaking to many years ago, actually, to Dr. Judy. It is so important for parents. The one goal that they have when their children grow up is for them to, even as young kids, they want them to be as independent as possible. I really liked what Megan was saying. Who doesn't need extra help? And that's so true. All of us.
I'll tell you, when I started here at CIP and I got an opportunity to work with this young adult population, I was like, where was that when I went to college?
Exactly.
There is so many little nuances, and I hope I get a chance to share a little bit of that with you today, because it is those little details that we think are covered in life that aren't. And we take that a lot for advantage as a neurotypical person. You know, we don't think what anxiety it takes even to walk into a college class the first time, to fill out, hand it in. Yeah, I can fill it out, but I'm too scared to hand it in because I don't know what that conversation is going to look like.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of neurotypical people or individuals also mask their way through college. So I actually believe that a program like yours should be incorporated for all students. I think all of us need a bit of extra support and a mentor, coach, advisor.
I'll tell you what, even when we go down and we have conversations about internet safety, intimacy, relationship development, it really should be like a freshman 101 class, because again, that's not just, it's not always introduced or discussed. So I'm fortunate that prior to CIP, my experience is 20 or 18 years actually in education from K through 12 as a teacher and administrator. And then this is like my second part of my life. My new chapter of my book was now working with post-secondary young adults. And if I only knew back then what I know now, and I mean in relation to what we taught in school, right? We're worried about the grades and making sure that they're attending class on time and they're ready for college. But don't have the opportunity through a lot of curriculums in elementary and high school to talk about, well, can you actually sit down and have a conversation with someone? Can you social fake? You know, has anyone given you honest feedback that you need to brush your teeth before you get in someone's face to have that conversation?
Exactly.
Power. And I think that unfortunately, it's just not built that way in a lot of school programs to do those real social skills, giving that honest life skill opportunity. And, we have some students that have never done their laundry, have never filled a Medi set, and don't even know how to access healthcare, yet they're going off to college for the first time.
I remember at school, after school, it's always in retrospect. And I remember thinking, why didn't we learn how to open a bank account, to manage money, to manage a budget? I didn't know how to budget. And I went to America to study on a tennis scholarship right after high school. And I didn't know what I was doing, but you kind of fake it throughout, and then you're hoping for the best. But I think it would be so much better if I had a coach.
We do celebrate failure. I will tell you that we love when students actually fail, but we're here to support and pick that up. Yes. So that would be my greatest advice to a lot of your families is not everyone can afford a program or be in a program, but they need to have some supports in place, whether that's going to be an uncle, a teacher, a tutor, but who is there going to be that support?
Yes, of course. And I think that is so important. I was listening to a show from Dr. Ramani yesterday, and she said, even if that support is not from a mentor or even not from a parent, it needs to be from someone else. You need to have somebody that you can trust and you can go to and ask some of the things that you mentioned about life skills, but also the soft skills, like how do I actually introduce myself? How do I build my self-confidence or self-esteem to initiate a conversation or maintain friendships or just go and give in my application at a college?
So many steps that when you really backwards plan and break it down can create a lot of stress and anxiety. So a lot of practice.
Yes.
We do a lot of.
That's great. And my one friend always says practice makes progress, which I really like.
I like that better. Yes, we don't need perfect, that's for sure. Progress is much better.
No, there's no such thing as perfect. And if you have to think about effective strategies that parents can initiate or include from a younger age with their children to help them prepare for these transitions, to go to college or to possibly go into an internship opportunity.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you asked me for the younger generation so that we can build them up, right? Have the skills and they walk in to transition, they're ready to go. The first one I'm going to tell you is natural consequences. And I think once we first identify who we are as a parent, and there's so many different parenting styles and there's pros and cons to everyone. I know I'm that octopus parent, right? I can do it all. I'm going to work full time. I'm going to be the team mom. I'm making dinner. I'm going to help with your homework. And there's pros and cons to that. And it took me a while to figure out where my weaknesses were to step aside.
Also to maybe find your own boundaries so that you can also have some me time.
Yes, because parenting is not easy. But when I talk about natural consequences, I'm starting at the age, and you could start this in even 5th, 6th grade. So your child's not getting up to go to school. Are you maybe pulling them out of bed? Are you setting the alarm clock at this point? Are you, calling in and saying, I'm sorry, I'm running late, even though it was your child? And maybe now it's time that they're setting the alarm clock and they're going in late because they woke up late and they're getting detention. That's a natural consequence that you can allow for that doesn't make you a bad parent. But now it starts your child to see that someday there's not going to be that person. No one's going to be in a college dorm waking them up and telling they have to go to class. And that's the time you want your child to start waking up on their own, is when they're off to college or leaving the house and starting a career, because they haven't had that. So as many natural consequences that can possibly be put into place, that one's a huge one.
As parents, I feel like you've already got the most important job in the world, and now you might have a child that has specific learning patterns and you want to protect them as much as possible. So, it might be even more so for you to do things for them. It might be a natural reaction, and that is a natural reaction for any parent, but more so for a parent that feel like their child might have some challenging situations coming up. So they'll be like, no, I'll do that for them. Whereas I love the idea of letting them accept some things are difficult and I need to bear the consequences of that. But mom's always there. She can always comfort me again. Having that balance.
Carla, it's so important because we actually call it the steel umbilical cord with a special needs, right? It's even stronger because for whatever reason, and it's probably because we all want to be that perfect parent, we think that our child's struggles, their challenges are a reflection on our parenting style. And it's not, it truly isn't, but we need people to remind us of that it's okay that our child is different and they're struggling. And that doesn't reflect that I'm not doing the right thing or getting them the right support, paying for everything possible. Sometimes it's okay for them to struggle because it's in those moments and it's in those moments of failure that your student's going to make the most progress.
Yes. Again, and learn resilience.
On the flip side. Yes. That resilience is because we don't know if there's going to be a new pandemic tomorrow. We don't know what is there. So unless we can build up that flexibility and resilience, we're setting them up for future failure that we may not be there to support. So I say support it now. Another one that I would encourage parents to do is start having some uncomfortable conversations. And what I mean by that is sometimes we avoid uncomfortable and we confuse that with safety. And I'll give you a good example. So I had a family that I was interviewing and the dad just took me to the side and he said, I just want you to know, like, my daughter has never dated. She's really very vulnerable. We don't really kind of like her around boys a lot. So we're constantly monitoring her social media and make sure she's not talking to any males because we think that she's vulnerable. And I appreciated that he gave me that heads up because it gave me an idea of how raw their child was. But I had to give them reality, and reality was you should have started those conversations in middle school and high school because the reality again is your child's going to run into males. Exactly. And now that they're of age and they're 19 years old, what is the conversation going to look like? And you may not even be involved in this anymore because now they are adult. So I would say start having those uncomfortable conversations that
at a younger age.
Without any safety risk, but you're really preparing them for what is going to come down the road.
Exactly. I was speaking to a professor from the UK, and she was telling me it's so important to start focusing on subjects like puberty and uncomfortable conversations. But I mean, we all go through it. So it is a bit of a taboo to speak about it, which shouldn't be the case. So we need to start speaking about these conversations at a very younger age. And it still makes it, you can as a parent make it a very comfortable conversation. But if you don't speak about it and you keep it away from your child, it might lead to a lot more difficulty later, like you said.
Without a doubt. And we know that one of their go-to is social media. So they're learning from somewhere. And would you rather be the driver of that conversation or allow all of these other sources that are probably not scholarly giving your child advice?
Yes, exactly. And you can't monitor everything. I mean, again, like some parents would say, oh no, but I'll go and have a look what they're looking at. You don't know. And it's very dangerous to you don't know what's out there. I mean, even I'm falling behind with technology and all the different programs and apps that's out there. So I 100% agree with that. I think it's a very important topic. And, it's something that parents sometimes, they also don't know what's right and what's wrong. And for them to maybe have a resource like yourself and they can ask you, look, Michele, what do you feel that we should be discussing at this age? And they can maybe even consult with you.
Absolutely. And we want to give them reality of what we see our young adults experiencing today. Any that we say, let's take away that technology and turn it off at a certain time because that becomes bedtime issues now. They're so engaged, they have good sleep habits. Unfortunately, technology is a part of our life today. And it's in the workplace, it's schools, we can't really avoid it, so we're going to have to continue to teach to how to use it properly.
Yes, exactly. Also teaching our children self-regulation, where we can include some of the tools that they can utilize, and they can see, wait, this is not a nice app, I don't want to stay on it, or this is a nice platform, I can ask questions and I feel safe here. But that's all part of the discussions of how do you feel safe, when do you feel safe, and how do you feel when things are right, when things are wrong. So it's such an important point. Thank you.
Yes, and I like that you had mentioned before too about that support system. And I can't say that enough, how important it is for families to find different supports throughout the child's life. And that's going to change. Right now it might be the pediatrician, it might be the psychiatrist and the psychologist, but those supports are definitely going to change throughout the child's journey. And you also want to be part of those conversations, make sure that you're vetting out who's giving your child guidance. But we know from experience that our students will take advice different from different people. And we know at this young adults, we do a lot with social mentors and peer mentors, because even now they're looking at us, they're like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, you're too old. So we have to be a part of those conversations and getting them in the social cohorts that they're relatable to, right? Because it's great to go to the playground and just kind of, let me just show up at the gym and see if anybody engages my student. But sometimes we have to seek out those social groups.
I really like what you guys are doing at CIP, where you get the students involved at the universities or the colleges, and they go with your students, and they, because they're at the same age, and it is better to speak to somebody at your own age or maybe a little bit older, but we are getting to the bracket where we're probably a little bit too old now. I'm not that cool anymore.
Sadly. Yeah, even that word's not cool. I'm lit. I still like lit, but
I just received an email from our HR manager, and she said, I sent her a document that I created, and she said, that's fire. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm back at it. That's great. So I think for parents to know that they also might need to look at mentors that are similar age to their child. I really like somebody going into the living arrangement that you were speaking of. I've always loved the idea of a buddy system, where it's somebody that shares an apartment with you, and they might have other challenges, but all of us have challenges, but then the strengths help each other. And I think that that's a very good system for me, is to have who doesn't want a roommate, or a housemate.
Yeah, and it's what's nice too is, and we try to, when we give them guidance as a roommate, we ask them to be one is an accountability person. So hold your roommate accountable. If you really need to have the dishes done on Thursday, then make sure that you had that conversation and you both set up, you backwards plan your calendars together. So accountability buddy is huge, because we're helping each other and are both our areas of weakness. And then we all want friends. So some way, what can we commonly connect on? And maybe that's a Lego group. Maybe we're watching anime together, maybe, and try and make a tribe. So that's how we slowly build upon it. And probably one of my favorite things at working at CIP and with this population is they have formed their tribe.
That's
so
awesome.
As much as we're integrating into the community and they're going to college and they're going to work, they still have this social group that they come back to, where they just have those common interests, like I said, of the anime and the gaming, D&D, and whatever their interests are, where they can just let loose and be goofy and funny. And
yes, that is, I love that, because I spoke to, well, for many reasons, but one of the reasons is I spoke to Dr. Temple not long ago, Dr. Temple Grandin, and she also mentioned the importance of finding your tribe. She said it a little bit differently, but what she said is it's so important to find interest-based activities and really getting our kids involved in those interests that they love, because those kids at the activities will speak the same language. They'll love anime, or if it's a Lego group or club, they love it, and they can speak about it for ages, and they don't feel like people are looking at them or getting bored with the conversation, because they're just as into it, and it makes it so much better. I mean, yes, we all want friends. One of the things that I really don't like when people say that autistic people don't want friends, or they don't want social interaction, they absolutely do. and they love it.
Thank you for saying that.
And they thrive on it when it's interest based.
They just want to be with people that accept them.
Exactly.
Them, right? So they absolutely want friends, and I guess that could be my last advice to parents would be kind of check your motivation. So when you're trying to force your child into that peer fit group because that's who your friends and neighbors are all going to the same soccer club and they're all going to this thing, and is a motivation because you feel like that's what you are supposed to do in your clique people, maybe your child doesn't fit into that. So sometimes you have to have some separate activities for them where they are accepted and they're feeling okay.
Yeah, that is so powerful, because we rarely ask our kids at a young age even, what do they want? Do they actually want to go to this group that we signed them up for? Do they want to go to the school? And I know they can't always say yes or no, because that is the circumstances that they're in. But I found even in therapy with the mentees that I mentor, if they're part of the process of growth, they excel and they want to learn and they want to be part and they do their assignments. But if you kind of just tell them what to do, they always kick back and they're, oh, why are you trying to be the boss of me?
Yeah. And the why is huge too, right? So when we are trying to get them to fit into our box, because every now and then we have, based on our societal needs and what they might have to do with their job, we got to follow that up with the why. We definitely have to give why of what they're doing, and then they can put their hair down later.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Michele. I'm not going to take more of your time. I think your advice has been so practical and to the point. And I think that the strategies that you've given, parents can immediately utilize that from a young age. So thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate your time. It was great today. Thank you.